Before you drift into sleep, allow yourself to do something very simple. Relax your shoulders. Breathe in slowly and breathe out as softly as mist dissolving into the night. The stories you are about to hear are not meant for the mind to remember, but for the soul to recall what it once forgot. In this place, time flows slower than a breath. Karma does not arrive to punish, but to awaken. Each character you will meet may not be as unfamiliar as they seem, because within them there may be a part of you, an unhealed pain, an unforgiven moment, a sleep that has never been deep enough. If your eyes begin to close, that is perfectly fine, because sometimes we become truly awake only when we are asleep. And now, as the blue flame is quietly lit, let the next story carry you into the current of intertwined destinies. Story 1: The Cave of Silent Breaths. At the northern edge of the ever-mist mountains, there lies a small cave known by very few. Locals call it the Cave of Silent Breaths, not because the wind never enters, but because anyone who steps inside slowly forgets the sound of their own breathing. Ethan was one of them. He had once lived in haste. The city, money, ambition, and quiet anger kept his mind in constant turmoil. After a profound loss, the death of his mother, whom he had never truly listened to, Ethan left everything behind with an old backpack and a question without words: why has my mind never known peace? He arrived at the cave on a mist-heavy afternoon. Inside, a faint blue light shimmered along the stone walls, as if the rocks themselves were breathing. Ethan sat down, leaned against the cold stone, and closed his eyes, not to pray, not to seek answers, but simply because he was exhausted. At first, his mind was loud, memories, regrets, unspoken words, but slowly everything softened. He no longer heard his breath, not because he stopped breathing, but because he stopped trying to control it. In that moment, he saw a small blue flame appear within his chest. It was neither hot nor cold, it simply was. Each time he released a thought, the flame grew brighter. A voice arose, not from outside, but from the depth of silence itself. You did not come here to escape, you came here to remember. Ethan saw his mother, saying nothing, only smiling. He wanted to apologize, but tears fell before words could form. The blue flame trembled gently, as if embracing that pain. When Ethan awoke, morning light filled the cave. He did not know how long he had sat there, but as he stepped outside, he realized something strange. The world had not changed, only the way he saw it had. Before leaving, he carved a small symbol into the stone wall, a circle surrounding a flame. No one knew for whom it was meant, but from that day on, visitors said they felt more able to let go inside the cave. Ethan left the Evermist Mountains without carrying the blue flame, because he had become the place where it could rest. Story 2: Lucas and the River That Remembers. No one in Silverwheel truly remembered when the river first appeared. They only knew it had always been there, slow, deep, and strangely silent. The villagers called it the Remembering River. Lucas grew up along its banks. Since childhood, he had recurring dreams, standing in the water, a faint blue light glowing in his chest, someone whispering his name from far away. Each time he woke, his heart slowed, as if he had remembered something, and then lost it again. Lucas was a quiet man, not because he had nothing to say, but because every word felt heavy. Deep inside him was a vague sense of guilt, though he could not recall what he had done wrong. When Lucas was 28, a great flood struck the town. The river rose, carrying away trees, homes, and an elderly man who lived alone near the shore. That night, Lucas could not sleep. Something drew him outside, guiding him to the river. The water was unusually calm, reflecting a sky full of stars. When Lucas stepped into the river, it was not cold. It was warm like an old memory. The water began to whisper. He saw another lifetime by this same river. Back then, he was a ferryman named Liam. Out of fear and selfishness, Liam had refused to take a man across the river during a storm. The man died. Lucas knelt as the water rose to his chest. A soft blue flame appeared within his heart, just like in his childhood dreams. Karma does not collect debts, the river said. It waits for remembrance. At dawn, Lucas rescued the old man swept away by the flood, the one everyone believed had died. From that day on, Lucas became helper to all who crossed the river, asking no payment and no reason. The river continued to flow, but whenever Lucas meditated by its side, a blue reflection shimmered on the water, like forgiveness that needed no words. Story 3. The Woman Who Listened to Silence. Clara lived alone in a small wooden cabin deep within Ashenwood Forest, a place where even birds rarely sang. The forest was not frightening, people said, but it forced one to face oneself. Clara was once a pianist. Music was her breath. But after her final performance, when the applause arrived too late for someone she loved, she left the stage and never touched the piano again. She moved into the forest, carrying silence as a self-chosen punishment. Each night, Clara meditated by the window. No chants, no prayers, she simply listened. At first, to the wind and leaves. Then, gradually, to the spaces between sounds. One moon-dim night, as the forest's breath slowed, Clara heard something faint, not a melody, but a note that had never been played. Warmth spread through her chest. A gentle blue glow appeared within her heart. She saw her past clearly. Out of pride and fear, she had failed to hold the hand of the one she loved when he needed her most. Not from lack of love, but from lack of presence. Tears fell, but without pain. Silence is not loss, a voice whispered within. It is where sound returns. The next morning, Clara placed her old piano among the trees. She did not play for an audience, she played for silence. With each key, the blue flame within her grew brighter. From that day on, travelers lost in Ashenwood said they heard a faint melody, one that did not make them sad, but made them pause and breathe.
Story 4. Noah and the Last Dream Before Dawn. Noah was someone who never slept deeply. Each night, even with closed eyes, his mind hovered between dreaming and waking. He feared sleep, haunted by a recurring dream, standing before a blue-lit door, never brave enough to step through. Noah worked as a caregiver for the elderly. Each day he witnessed the fading of memories, bodies, and unspoken words. It led him to believe that loss was inevitable. One night, Utterly exhausted, Noah fell into a sleep deeper than ever before. He found himself in a place beyond time. Before him stood the blue door. This time, warmth filled his chest. The blue flame he had never understood now burned clearly within his heart. He stepped through. On the other side were all those he had cared for, no longer frail, no longer in pain. They smiled without blame. One whispered, "You are not here to hold us back. You are here to let us go with awareness." Noah knelt, tears dissolving into the light. When he awoke, dawn was breaking. For the first time, Noah felt that he had truly slept. From then on, whenever he held the hand of someone about to depart, fear no longer followed. Within his heart, the blue flame burned quietly, illuminating farewell as a blessing. Story 5. Elias and the Threads of Unfinished Lives. Elias was a watchmaker, not of modern clocks, but of old timepieces, where gears were worn, hands misaligned, and time itself seemed reluctant to move. His shop stood at the edge of Silverwill, not far from the river known as the Remembering River. From childhood, Elias possessed an unusual ability. When touching a broken clock, he didn't just see its mechanism, he could feel the memories trapped inside it. Unfinished moments, unspoken promises. He told no one. One day, a stranger brought him an old pocket watch. The moment he touched it, pain pierced his chest. In an instant, he saw a blue-lit cave, a man named Ethan sitting in silence, and a symbol, a flame within a circle. That night, Elias did not sleep. He dreamed of threads of light connecting people, lives, and lifetimes. Some glowed strong, some were torn, some remained unfinished. In the dream, he met Lucas standing by the river, blue reflections in his eyes. Lucas said, "Not everything needs fixing. Some things only need to be seen." From that day on, Elias changed his work. He stopped forcing clocks to run. He sat still, breathing slowly, listening to time. One afternoon, Clara entered his shop, carrying a wall clock that no longer ticked. When Elias touched it, he heard a faint melody, like a piano key never pressed. The blue flame ignited within his chest. Elias understood then, he was not repairing time. He was closing unfinished lives with awareness. On a full moon night, Elias carried the pocket watch to the river. As he released it into the water, blue light spread softly, then faded. For the first time in his life, Elias slept deeply.
Story 6. Mira and the Place Where Karma Rests. Mira was the only one who knew the path. It appeared on no map, had no official name. The elders whispered it was the place where karma rests before continuing. Mira was not a monk, not a practitioner. She was simply someone who listened to other people's dreams. Those who had passed through Ethan's cave, Lucas's river, Clara's forest, or Noah's final room all shared the same dream, a gentle blue light and a mist-covered path. Mira guided them. One night, they all arrived together. Ethan, Lucas, Clara, Noah, Elias. They were not surprised to see one another, as if their souls had always known. At the center burned the blue flame, still and unmoving. Mira spoke softly. Karma is not a circle of punishment. It is a current learning when to rest. One by one, they stepped forward. No one asked for erasure. They simply faced what they had lived. When dawn arrived, the place dissolved.
Only lightness remained within their hearts. Mira stayed behind. The blue flame dimmed, then dissolved into breath. From that day on, the path no longer appeared, for karma had been returned to the hands of awareness. Story 7. The lives they once shared. None of them remembered when it began. They only knew that on the same night they all dreamed the same dream. Ethan stood in an ancient village lit by trembling oil lamps. Lucas heard flowing water, not his familiar river, but a crowded ferry crossing. Clara heard music, not from a piano, but from wind chimes hanging at a temple gate. Noah smelled herbal medicine and the familiar presence of tending the dying. Elias saw wooden gears turning slowly inside an old clock tower. And then they saw each other. In that dream, they bore different names. They were people of another era, living in the same village between mountain and river. Ethan was a young monk guarding a meditation cave. Lucas was the sole ferryman. Clara rang the morning bells. Noah served as the village healer. Elias kept time for crops and seasons. They were not close friends. They simply shared presence in one another's lives. Until the year the drought came. Fear bred blame. Blame bred division. A wrong decision was made, from selfishness, from fear, from survival instinct. They all remained silent when they should have spoken. That night, the village burned, and within the fire, a strange blue light gathered all unspoken regret into a karmic seed. When they awoke in the present, warmth spread through their hearts. No explanations were needed. They understood. They did not meet again to repay debt, but to complete what was once left undone, with awareness, not suffering.
Story 8. The Blue Flame Before Birth. There is a place beyond time. Not heaven, not judgment. Mira once called it the pause between two breaths of existence. In deep meditation, she saw them not as bodies, but as streams of awareness, soft as mist. At the center, the blue flame appeared again, small, still, unburning. It spoke without words. You are not born to be punished. You are born to remember how to love with awareness. One by one, the souls approached. Ethan learned to remain with the breath. Lucas learned not to turn away from those who needed crossing. Clara learned presence in love. Noah learned farewell without fear. Elias learned to let time close itself. The blue flame divided into gentle rays, traveling with them into each life. Mira remained behind. She did not enter rebirth. Her role was the reminder, not the participant. As the final soul departed, the blue flame faded softly, not because it weakened, but because it had been lit within human hearts. Story 9. When all paths quietly meet. None of them planned to meet again. There was no invitation, no appointment, only a gentle pull they all felt in the same season, as if not going would mean missing something unnamed. Ethan returned to the Evermist Mountains. The cave remained, but the blue glow no longer appeared. He sat, breathing slowly, realizing the silence now lived within him. Lucas left Silverwill, allowing the river to flow without a guardian. Before leaving, he touched the water. No memories surfaced, only gratitude. Clara left Ashenwood Forest without her piano. Music had already woven itself into her steps and breath. Noah took a long rest from caregiving. For the first time, he learned to tend to life, not only to death. Elias closed his watch shop. On the door he hung a small sign: "Time is not broken, we have simply forgotten to listen." And then they met. Not in dreams, not in sacred realms, but on a quiet plateau where the wind moved slowly and the sky was wide enough for no one to feel central. Mira was already there. She did not guide, she simply sat. No one spoke of past lives. No one mentioned karma. They simply sat together. No blue flame appeared, no light, no miracle. Only a shared knowing. We did not come here to be perfect. We came here to awaken together. At sunset, they parted. No promises, no attachment. But within each of them, something had gently, completely closed.
Story 10. The Flame That No Longer Needs a Name. Some stories do not end in climax. They end in a silence that is just enough. The blue flame once appeared in caves, in rivers, in forests, in sleep, in time, and in unfinished lives. But it never belonged to a place. It never came to save anyone. It only came to illuminate what had always been there. When humans stop running from pain, stop clinging to regret, stop fearing farewell, stop trying to fix time, the flame no longer needs to appear, because then breath itself becomes light, presence becomes meditation, ordinary life becomes awakening. If you're listening now and your eyes are slowly closing, let it happen. There is nothing more to understand, no lesson to memorize, only this: karma does not follow us to bind us. It follows us to teach us how to release. And when we release deeply enough, the path closes on its own, like a peaceful sleep. The 10 stories have come to an end, but what they touch remains open. Because what you have just heard is not only the journey of Ethan, Lucas, Clara, or Noah, nor of any single name. It is a deeply familiar journey of every human being. The journey of learning to stay with oneself in life's most fragile moments. The blue flame never appeared to grant miracles, nor to erase the past. It simply illuminated gently what we once avoided: an unhealed pain, an apology never spoken, a moment of presence left behind. In these stories, karma is not punishment. It is a kind reminder that every thought, every action, every silence leaves a trace, not to imprison us, but to guide us home. When we dare to pause, to breathe slowly, to look honestly at what we have lived, in that very moment, karma begins to transform. And one day, the flame no longer needs to appear, because awareness has settled into the breath, peace has settled into silence, and sleep has become a safe refuge for the soul. If you are listening now, as your eyes slowly close, allow yourself to drift into deep rest. There is nothing more you need to carry with you, only this knowing: you are not alone on this path, and whenever you return to presence, the blue flame is always there, not burning brightly, not judging, but quietly lighting the way ahead.